You don't hate your job. You hate being told when to pee. You hate checking Slack on a Sunday night. You hate living for the weekend like a domesticated hyena waiting for zoo visitors to clap. You think you need more discipline. No, you need freedom. You've been sold a scam, and guess what? You bought it on a payment plan with direct deposit. Meet David, a guy who proudly shows off his Tesla on LinkedIn while crying into his reusable Whole Foods bag because he's still working 60 hours a week and doesn't know his kids' teachers' names. You probably know a David. Hell, you probably are David. The grind? It's not a badge of honor, it's a leash. And today, we're gonna rip it off. Because this book, The 4-Hour Workweek by Tim Ferriss, it doesn't ask for your permission to change your life. It just gives you the blueprint and dares you to grow a spine. Let's be crystal clear. This video falls under the Fair Use Act. This is a transformative educational summary intended to save your ass, not get sued. So calm down, lawyers, we're good. Now, onto the madness. Tim Ferriss isn't a self-help guru with a headset mic and MLM vibes. No, he's an Ivy League escape artist who turned a failing supplement company into a multi-million-dollar lifestyle machine. While you were doom scrolling through HR compliance training, Tim was becoming a world champion in tango, outsourcing his life to virtual assistants in India, and asking Fortune 500 CEOs why they were still stuck in the office like it was a cubicle zoo exhibit. In the 4-Hour Workweek, Ferriss obliterates the idea that you need to wait until you're 65 to start living. It's not about retirement, it's about liberation. It's a war on the default life path. The soul-sucking 40-hour work week designed for factory workers, not free humans. This book doesn't just question the script, it burns the damn thing and writes a new one. But don't expect a gentle nudge. This is an intellectual punch in the mouth. Ferriss divides the escape route into 4 brutal but effective steps using the acronym DEAL. D for definition, redefine wealth, purpose, and success. E for elimination. Stop being busy, start being effective. A for automation, get paid while you sleep. L for liberation, fire your location, not your income. What makes this book different? He doesn't give you inspiration, he gives you instructions. If you're the kind of person who says things like, "I'm just waiting for the right time," Tim would say, you're just a coward with a calendar. And I agree, because the truth is, the longer you wait to live your dream life, the more you rehearse for a nightmare. This isn't about yachts or passive income porn. It's about reclaiming your damn life before your obituary reads like your LinkedIn profile. Burn the rulebook. Let me ask you something uncomfortable. Why the hell are you working 40 plus hours a week like you're getting paid in gold bars when in reality you're just getting enough to exist and not enough to live? No, seriously. You hustle like your cubicle is a throne. You treat burnout like it's a badge of honor. And for what? An early retirement? So you can finally live your dreams when your knees sound like microwave popcorn? Now imagine this. A man worth millions, flying first class, liquored friends passed out, diamond the size of your self-doubt glinting under the reading light. He's lived the life, bought the toys, married and divorced the models. And when asked which business he liked most, this guy, this real-life Monopoly piece, says, none of them. That's not a plot twist, that's a plot collapse. You've been chasing the wrong damn thing. This guy burned $1 million in a Vegas weekend just to feel something. If that doesn't make you question everything, maybe you're already too numb to wake up. Here's the punchline. Most of you are building golden cages. Every promotion, every new car, every social flex, another damn bar on your own prison cell. The kind of wealth they don't teach in school is the kind that buys time, not Teslas. Options are the currency of the new rich. Control, autonomy, freedom. You've been sold retirement at 65 as success, but that's just societal hospice care. Tim Ferriss lays it bare. There are 2 kinds of people, the deferrers and the new rich. The deferrers grind now for some mythical someday that usually arrives with back pain and regret. The new rich? They distribute their retirement in chunks throughout life, what Ferriss calls mini retirements. Travel now, learn now, live now. Not when you're worn out and waiting to die on a beach chair with skin like toast. Here's the part that will sting. You might think you're working for yourself, but if your calendar owns you, you're still a slave. You might think being busy is noble. It's not. It's camouflage for fear. You're scared of stillness because in silence you hear the truth. You hate your life. Ferriss doesn't just whisper rebellion, he screams it with receipts. He beat professional kickboxers in China not by training harder, but by bending the rules. He dehydrated himself like a human raisin to qualify for a lighter weight class, then rehydrated to fight like a heavyweight. And he won. That wasn't cheating, it was beating the system with strategy. That wasn't unethical, it was intelligent exploitation of lazy thinking. He didn't outfight them, he outfought them. Why should your life be any different? Everything popular is wrong. Say it with me, everything. Retirement, college debt, 40-hour weeks, climbing corporate ladders. It's all a rigged game. You don't need to outwork the system, you need to stop playing by its broken rules. But here's the gut check. Most of you won't do it. You'll read this, nod like an enlightened bobblehead, and go back to drowning in emails and fake productivity. Because comfort is a drug, and you're an addict. Routine is your sedative. What if it fails, is your excuse. But the real danger is never trying. You are not a tree, you can move. Want a rule to live by? Burn the damn blueprint, burn the assumptions, burn the shoulds and the supposed tos. Rewrite your own game, because if you're not designing your life, someone else is. And guess what? They're not designing it for your happiness, they're designing it for your utility. So let me make this simple. Stop trying to be successful in a system that's designed to make you miserable. Break the default life, then destroy the blueprint. No, you don't need permission, you need nerve. You can automate income. You can outsource 90% of your to-do list. You can live in Argentina for the price of a studio in New York. But it all starts with throwing out the rulebook and daring to think different, not just wear a hoodie and quote Steve Jobs on Instagram. If you don't learn to break rules, you'll keep breaking yourself to fit inside them. Key takeaway: millionaires aren't made by the clock, they're made by design. You don't need more hustle, you need better rules. And most of all, the guts to break the ones that are garbage. Favorite quote: everything popular is wrong. Face your fears and flip the switch. You say you want freedom, but you're too scared to ask your boss for a long weekend. You fantasize about leaving your job, but you're paralyzed by imaginary scenarios in which your life collapses into a flaming ruin if Susan from HR sees your resignation letter. You call it being realistic. I call it what it is, cowardice with a necktie on. People aren't stuck because they're weak. They're stuck because they won't admit the real reason they don't change. It's not the cost, not the risk, not the timing. It's fear. Plain, boring, irrational, lizard brain fear dressed up in a pantsuit called responsibility. Fear doesn't stop the moment. It is the moment you stop. Tim Ferriss gets this. And he doesn't waste time coddling your emotional support hamster. He introduces a radical method he calls fear setting, not goal setting, not dream journaling, fear setting. Because if you name the nightmare, you can face it. If you dissect the failure, you disarm it. And if you force yourself to imagine the worst case scenario, guess what? It usually looks a lot more manageable than the horror movie in your head. Take Hans Keeling, a lawyer with a corner office and a soul-sucking future. One Sunday, he flings himself off a cliff in Rio with a paraglider, not depression, and lands in a new version of life. On Monday, he quits his job, just like that. Not because he had it all figured out, but because in midair he realized fear was just noise, and he was done letting noise write his eulogy. Ferriss isn't telling you to be reckless. He's telling you to be precise about your fear so it stops owning you. List out what you're scared of. Rank the worst outcomes. Write down what you'd do if each one happened. You'll find something interesting. Most of it is repairable, reversible, embarrassing at worst. And the real danger? Staying exactly where you are. What's the ROI of inaction? Try 10 years of regret, bottled stress, and a highlight reel of birthdays you missed because your Slack status said available. And here's where it gets even better, or more uncomfortable, depending on how much you cling to your illusions. Ferriss flips the entire narrative on goals, success, and reasonable plans. He tells the story of a Princeton classroom where he bribed students with a free trip anywhere in the world. All they had to do was contact three impossible to reach people and get one reply. Did they? No, zero, nada. Why? Because they were too busy crafting excuses that sounded intelligent. Then he tried it with a second class, same challenge. This time, 6 people completed it. Not because they were smarter, because they acted. That's the entire difference between the life you want and the one you're stuck in. You don't need a better resume. You need to move. Your fears are boring. Your reasons are recycled. Your paralysis is a luxury you can't afford anymore. Ferriss says, being unreasonable is a requirement, not a personality flaw. Stop adapting to the world. Start demanding the world adapt to you. Every innovation, every rebel success, every meaningful life was the result of someone saying, screw it, I'm doing this my way. You were not built to blend in. You're just too scared to stand out. You call it humility, but it's really just hiding. You tell yourself stories about timing and risk and stability, but here's the truth. If you stay where you are for another 5 years, you already know how it ends. Miserable, mediocre, and forgettable. The biggest risk isn't failing. It's waking up in 10 years having played it safe and realizing you wasted the one life you were given. Don't outsource your bravery. Don't negotiate with the status quo. And for God's sake, stop treating failure like a fatal wound. It's just feedback. Set your fears, expose them, kill them, then flip the damn switch. You don't need another seminar or inspirational quote. You need to stop lying to yourself about what's possible. Because if the life you want is on the other side of an uncomfortable conversation, why the hell are you still silent? This isn't therapy, it's war, and you better start acting like your time, your freedom, and your sanity are worth fighting for, because they are. If you're not terrified at least once a week, you're playing way too small. The most successful people aren't fearless, they're just fear literate. Key takeaway, fear doesn't kill dreams, inaction does. Define your fears, test your limits, and remember, the only safe path is the one that slowly kills you without ever setting off alarms. Favorite quote, named must your fear be before banish it you can. Kill time illusions. You've been lied to. You think the reason you're not getting results is because you need more motivation, a better planner, a smarter system, maybe a productivity app with gold stars and dopamine triggers. Wrong. The truth is, you've been feeding a bloated beast called busyness, and it's been eating your life one checkbox at a time. Let me say something dangerous. Time management is a cult. You were recruited with calendars and seduced by bullet journals. You bought in because it felt responsible. You stayed because the alternative, letting go, scares the hell out of you. And now you're stuck organizing tasks you never should have been doing in the first place. Tim Ferriss takes a chainsaw to that illusion and doesn't apologize for the mess. Here's the simple idea. Most of what you're doing doesn't matter. Not a little. Not occasionally. We're talking 80 to 90% of your to-do list is what Ferriss calls movement masquerading as progress. That flurry of activity that makes you feel important, it's the adult version of a kid banging pots together. Loud, exhausting, and completely irrelevant. The myth of time management is that it helps you control your life. What it really does is help you cram more useless nonsense into your waking hours. You don't need to optimize, you need to eliminate. Ferriss doesn't tell you to manage time better. He tells you to stop trying to manage time at all. Why? Because time isn't the problem. Priorities are. You've been busy avoiding the real work, the hard conversations, the risky decisions, the uncomfortable focus that actually moves the needle. The guy literally tells you to ask yourself multiple times a day, am I being productive or just active? That one question should be tattooed on the inside of every entrepreneur's eyelids. The only thing worse than being lazy is being efficient at doing the wrong thing. Ferriss introduces Parkinson's law and the 80-20 principle like a dual-wielded sledgehammer. Parkinson's law, work expands to fill the time available. So if you give yourself 8 hours, you'll magically make a 2-hour task take 8. Now ask what happens when you give yourself 2 hours. You stop overthinking, cut the fat, and do the damn thing. Now combine that with Pareto's law. 80% of your results come from 20% of your efforts. Identify that 20%, double down, and torch the rest. Most of your responsibilities are nothing more than comfort leashes. He backs it up with brutal examples, like the salesman who chopped his week from 40 to 18 hours while quadrupling results. Why? Because he stopped pretending that email was important. He stopped worshipping the inbox like it was a career god. The inbox is not a to-do list. It's a to-disrupt list, written by other people with no stake in your success. Ferriss doesn't stop there. He commits social heresy by recommending a low-information diet. Yep, ignore the news, avoid the scrolling, quit trying to be a Google search with legs. He hasn't bought a newspaper in 5 years and the world hasn't stopped spinning. Why? Because most of what's happening out there is irrelevant to what you need to do today. He replaces the buzz of staying informed with what he calls selective ignorance, a strategic blackout from distraction disguised as duty. And you've got 6 tabs open right now, don't you? One of them's an article on 10-time hacks that will change your life. Newsflash. If you had time to read it, you didn't need it. This isn't about apathy, it's about focus. Ferriss isn't telling you to live in a cave and chant productivity mantras. He's telling you to quit playing intellectual whack-a-mole with your calendar. You don't need more apps, you need fewer inputs. The human brain was not designed to be a processing unit for real-time catastrophe updates and Slack messages from Karen in accounting. Here's the shocker. When Ferriss put himself on this diet, no news, no random reading, no just browsing nonsense, his clarity didn't just improve, his business scaled, his freedom expanded, and his anxiety plummeted. You want that kind of result? Then you need to commit to subtraction, ruthless, unapologetic, liberating subtraction, because the only thing you're short on isn't time, it's courage. Do less, be more. Key takeaway: busy isn't brave, it's bullshit. The only time management you need is subtraction. If it doesn't make money, create meaning, or increase freedom, it's a distraction. Kill it. Favorite quote: being busy is a form of laziness, lazy thinking and indiscriminate action. Master the art of refusal. If you're still answering emails within 5 minutes like Pavlov's dog chasing a dopamine pellet, you don't need a productivity tip. You need an intervention. Let's be honest. Your inability to say no is why your life feels like a daily avalanche of nonsense. You're not too busy, you're just too weak to set boundaries, and it's bleeding you dry, mentally, emotionally, financially. So here's your brutal wake-up call. Saying yes all the time is the most cowardly, self-destructive thing you can do in the name of being professional. You're not a hero. You're a human vending machine that just spits out agreement. Want to know what happens to people who can't say no? They become dumping grounds for everyone else's priorities. And before you know it, you're buried under fake urgencies, unread emails, and meetings that could have been a plague. Tim Ferriss builds a case for refusal like it's an Olympic event, and he starts with the cult of interruptions. If someone walked into your bedroom at 3 a.m. to ask you about a memo, you'd call the police. But when it happens via email at 10 a.m., you call it normal. Are you serious? Interruptions are the termites of productivity, and like termites, they don't take a day off. Ferriss draws a clear line between 3 types of interruption parasites: time wasters, time consumers, and empowerment failures. Time wasters are everything you instinctively know is pointless. Meetings, phone calls, quick questions. Time consumers are things that need to be done, but don't need to be done by you. And empowerment failures? That's when people bug you because they don't have permission to act. Translation: your control freak tendencies are making you your own bottleneck. Ferriss hands you a weaponized toolkit to destroy these parasites. First, batch everything. Group your emails, phone calls, errands, and low-level tasks into specific windows and quarantine them. Don't let check inbox be your default nervous tick. Second, build rules that allow others to act without you. Create policies, templates, and scripts so you stop playing 911 for problems you didn't cause. If you're in a job, this means asking your boss for autonomy. With a twist, don't ask for it outright like a kid begging for the car keys. Use what Ferriss calls the puppy dog close. Offer a 1-week trial, reversible at any time. It's harder to say no to something temporary. Then crush that week. Over-deliver. Make them fear your absence more than they fear your independence. And if you're the boss, you've got even less excuse. Your "nobody does it better than me" complex is the fastest way to become the most overpaid intern on earth. Delegate, then shut up. Empower, then vanish. You're not the hero of every story. You're the obstacle. Ferriss doesn't just preach this, he lives it. His assistant answers emails. His team members deal with customers. He gets reports, not questions. Why? Because he trained his environment to respect his time. And here's the brutal truth. Your environment treats your time exactly the way you train it to. Now here's where it gets uncomfortable for all the people pleasers still holding on. If you're worried that saying no will make people like you less, you're probably right. And that's the point. Your freedom is more important than your reputation with people who don't even matter. Let that sink in. And about those meetings, burn them. 9 out of 10 meetings could be solved by a well-written email. Ferriss hasn't attended a business meeting in years. You're not building a startup. You're just stuck in a bad group project. You want to scale your life? Start with the courage to decline. Ferriss also brings in the real-world weapon, outsourcing. But not the Silicon Valley buzzword version. He means outsourcing your life. One editor, AJ Jacobs, outsourced everything from research to apologizing to his wife. He even had an assistant worry for him. You think it's a joke, but it worked. By outsourcing trivial tasks, he bought back his bandwidth and his sanity. What's the real takeaway? Most of what you're doing can, and should, be done by someone else. Because if you don't remove the low-value tasks, they will remove your life's momentum. Every minute you spend doing something someone else can do for $10 an hour is a minute you've chosen to be poor. Refusal isn't rude, it's revolutionary. Every no is a yes to something that actually matters. Your time, your peace, your life. The next time someone tries to steal 5 minutes of your focus, don't flinch. Ask yourself, does this serve my freedom? If the answer is no, cut the cord. Let them call you selfish. Let them call you harsh. But never let them call you available. Key takeaway. Saying no is saying yes to yourself. Refuse meetings. Refuse distractions. Refuse to be the customer service rep of your own damn life. Favorite quote. Meetings are an addictive, highly self-indulgent activity that corporations and other organizations habitually engage in only because they cannot actually masturbate. Find and test your muse. You're not broke. You're just creatively bankrupt, because if you still think you need to work more hours to make more money, congratulations. You've bought the dumbest lie in modern economics. That income is a function of effort, not intelligence. That fortune is earned by grinding, not designing. The sad part? You're not just wasting time, you're wasting leverage, because your freedom doesn't come from doing the work. It comes from building something that works while you sleep. Let's get this out of the way early. Your muse is not a passion project. It's not your Etsy side hustle. It's not a damn dream board on your bedroom wall. Your muse is your engine. It's your business that exists solely to print you money and buy you time. And Ferriss? He builds that engine with merciless precision. He doesn't tell you to find your passion. He tells you to find a product that people already want and test it like a mad scientist before you waste a single dollar building it. Forget focus groups. He wants you to run paid ads, collect actual buying behavior, and let reality slap your idea into shape. Because if it doesn't convert clicks into cash, it's not a business. It's a fantasy with a landing page, and the numbers don't lie. Less than 5% of books sell over 5,000 copies. Even industry pros with 6-figure marketing budgets fail more than they succeed. Ferriss's rule: don't trust people who say they'd buy. Ask them to pull out their wallet. If they won't, they're not your customers. They're just polite liars. Now, once you've got a product that people actually pay for, it's time to automate the hell out of it. Not hustle, not optimize, automate. Ferriss breaks it down. Outsource production, automate order processing, build a fulfillment pipeline that deposits cash in your account without requiring your body in the building. You're not supposed to manage this thing. You're supposed to remove yourself from it. You want examples? Try Douglas Price. Guy sips espresso in his Brooklyn brownstone while his online businesses hum along in the background. Or AJ Jacobs. who outsourced not just his tasks, but his marital arguments, and won. He even outsourced his therapy and his worrying. That's not delegation, that's design. It's hilarious, ridiculous, and it works. The trap most people fall into is this: they think launching a muse means launching a startup. It doesn't. Startups are needy, expensive, and eat founders alive. Muses are silent killers. They make money without begging for your attention. Ferriss isn't asking you to invent the next Uber. He's telling you to build a vending machine that prints cash when someone pushes a button. And that machine needs testing. Aggressive, calculated, Google AdWords style testing. Ferriss doesn't spend 6 months developing a product. He spends 5 days running $500 in test ads and watches what the market tells him. No clicks, kill the idea. Clicks, but no purchases. Fix the offer, conversions and sales, scale it. Then you let it fly. Fulfillment handled by someone else. Support outsourced. Marketing on a drip. Your job, refine. Occasionally tweak. Mostly, stay out of the way. Ferriss isn't romantic about any of this. He's not telling you to manifest abundance. He's telling you to build a revenue engine with zero emotional attachment. If it dies, replace it. If it thrives, duplicate it. His muse isn't his life's purpose, it's his freedom pass. Yours should be too. And don't start whining about quality or ethics. Outsourcing doesn't mean cheap, it means strategic. Ferriss isn't selling garbage, he's selling relevance, fast. He's giving people what they already want, just more efficiently than the other guy. Here's where the commentary kicks you in the face. If you're not working on your muse right now, it's not because you can't. It's because you're addicted to being important. You want to feel needed, wanted, irreplaceable. But that ego stroke is what's keeping you stuck inside a job that treats you like a glorified keystroke monkey. You could have built a muse last weekend. You could be earning while you sleep. But instead, you're grinding for a paycheck because you still think hard work is noble. It's not. It's just unscaled effort. Set it up, let it run, then set up another. Stop trying to be Superman. Be the guy who sells capes. Key takeaway: your ticket isn't workload, it's leverage. Your muse is your automated escape hatch. Build it, test it, and let it fly. While you don't. Favorite quote: just set it and forget it. Become a manager by absence. Imagine replacing yourself with a system so airtight it doesn't need you anymore. Now imagine that system making you money while you binge Netflix, travel to Lisbon, or nap guilt-free through your entire Tuesday. Sounds like a fantasy, right? That's because your ego still thinks you're the CEO of relevance. But let's be blunt. If your business can't run without you, you don't have a business. You have a glorified job with a panic button. Welcome to the cold slap of automation. This isn't delegation, this is exile by design. Tim Ferriss doesn't care about your hustle porn addiction. He's not interested in your calendar apps, your 5-hour energy shots, or your hustle grind die lifestyle. He's here to hand you the ultimate paradox. The less you're involved, the more control you actually have. The real flex? Becoming the manager of your life by absence, not presence. Here's the savage truth. Most entrepreneurs build businesses around their need to feel important. They don't design systems, they design chaos with their name on it. Ferriss looks at that dysfunction and says, eliminate the human, all of it. If your business needs hugs, therapy sessions, and constant supervision, it's broken. You are the bottleneck. He doesn't say outsource your job, he says out-evolve it. He shares stories of founders who treat office visits like ghost sightings. One CEO of a $35 million company shows up once a week. Why? Because he designed it that way. His absence forces structure. His silence builds competence. Every time he refuses to solve a problem, his business gets stronger. Now, reread that line and tattoo it on your brain. Ferriss argues that real freedom isn't about being in control. It's about removing yourself as the point of failure. You don't want to manage employees. You want self-correcting machines. You want SOPs so tight they don't care who's pushing the buttons. You want a system that punishes interruption and rewards results, not effort. That means documenting everything, training people to think in terms of outcomes, not steps. It means putting in the upfront pain to buy back your time for life. You don't just automate emails, you automate decisions, default answers, flowcharts, hell, maybe even emotion responses. If Karen sends a passive-aggressive email, route it to trash and light a candle. Now let's talk about the sacred cow of all business dogma, leadership. You've been told a leader shows up first, leaves last, bleeds for the team. Sounds noble, until you realize that leadership built on martyrdom just creates dependency. Ferriss tells you to do the opposite. Build so well, people stop asking where you are. And for the record, Ferriss doesn't demonize humans. He just knows they're the messiest part of any system. They forget, they flake, they need constant feedback and micro-validation, which is why his entire model leans towards software, scripts, and services that never sleep, complain, or ask for a raise. If a tool breaks, you fix it once. If a person breaks, you're in therapy for 6 months. He teaches you to reverse engineer everything, figure out what you want your business to do without you, and then step backwards from there. Your role is architect, not operator. Be the ghost in the machine, not the hamster on the wheel. Here's the part that stings. Most people will never do this. Why? Because they don't want to give up control. They say they want freedom, but they secretly crave validation. They want to be irreplaceable. But Ferriss calls that what it is, fear in a power suit. You don't need to be needed. You need to disappear. Because the real flex isn't working from a beach. It's working so well that no one notices you're gone. Not your staff, not your customers, not even your accountant. You're the Wizard of Oz with a Wi-Fi password. Want to know who wins in the end? Not the one who builds the biggest empire, the one who's forgotten by their own empire and still cashes the checks. Key takeaway, lead by absence, not presence. Design systems so efficient, your company works better when you vanish. Favorite quote, the factory of the future will have only 2 employees, a man and a dog. The man will be there to feed the dog. The dog will be there to keep the man from touching the equipment. Pull the office vanish trick. If you're still showing up to the same desk 5 days a week like a medieval peasant offering your soul to the gods of email, I've got news for you. Your boss isn't the jailer. You are. You could disappear from that job, and if you did it right, no one would even notice. The office is not your proving ground, it's your padded cell with a pension plan, and you keep polishing the bars like you're earning freedom points. You're not. Tim Ferriss cracks the code here, not by quitting, but by vanishing, disappearing from the office without asking for permission. Because permission, that's just procrastination in a tuxedo. He lays out how to escape without causing panic, without setting fire to your reputation, and without triggering the company's HR SWAT team. It's not about leaving your job, it's about making your job irrelevant to your physical location. First, he shows you how to create undeniable proof that your remote work is more productive than being in the office. You don't ask your boss, "Can I work from home?" You show them that when you do, output skyrockets, metrics improve, problems disappear. You build leverage with results, not requests. Once you've proven your autonomy, the next step isn't asking for more freedom, it's declaring it. He tells you to ask for 1 day remote, then 2, then a week, then a month. If they don't trust it, you offer to reverse it anytime. Ferriss calls it the art of disappearing, a test-driven, data-supported, confidence-wielding transition into ghost mode, not quit mode, escape mode. You aren't negotiating with your boss, you're training them to not need you, and simultaneously proving that their expectations were always based on an outdated model of work. Ferriss knows the real power move is this: get paid full-time to work part-time from anywhere. That's the new rich model. Not gigging, not freelancing, but bending a traditional system to fit a non-traditional life. He doesn't romanticize this either. He admits not all companies will play ball. Some will block you, some will punish you, some will cling to your cubicle like it's a company heirloom. That's when you decide. Adapt the job to your life or abandon it completely. You're not meant to be geographically shackled. If your job depends on presence, it's not scalable. And if it's not scalable, it's a ticking time bomb with your dreams taped to it. Ferriss offers real-world examples of people who moved their entire lives overseas, earning US dollars and spending pesos, baht, or rupees. Because here's the real killer move: geo arbitrage. Make income in strong currency, spend in weak currency. It's not just travel, it's economic warfare, and you win by showing up on a beach with a laptop and a bank account that grows while you snorkel. He calls out the false narrative of someday, the idea that you can suffer now and live later, but later is where dreams go to rot. Retirement is not a reward, it's a threat, because most people, once they stop working, fall into existential panic. Why? Because they never learned how to live. They only learned how to obey. And here's the gut punch. Most of you aren't afraid of quitting. You're afraid of disappearing, afraid of being irrelevant, unseen, unmissed. You need the office because you haven't built a life outside of it. That's not work ethic, that's identity addiction. Ferriss gives you the blueprint to vanish, step by step. Track your time. Prove your value, scale down your office appearances, set rules, enforce them, build systems, test results, show that location is irrelevant when value is present. Then, ghost. Because the office isn't a place, it's a mindset, and it's one you were never meant to keep. You don't want to take a vacation, you want to live a life that doesn't need escaping from. You want to be so free that people think you died, but you're just living better than they ever imagined. Key takeaway, escape isn't vacation, it's liberation. You're not meant to request freedom, you're meant to engineer it, then disappear with proof and power, not apologies. Favorite quote, if you are wasting your time in the office, why not waste it from home, or better yet, from the beach? Live a life that looks like a lifestyle. Alright, we're at the final turning point. The part where the dream either gets lived or dies politely in a folder named Someday. And if you're still thinking retirement is the reward at the end of all this, then you didn't just miss the point. You bulldozed it with a calendar full of empty plans and fake goals. Here's the truth. Waiting until you're too old to enjoy your freedom is just slow suicide with better PR. Tim Ferriss doesn't sell you on retirement. He bulldozes it, spits on the rubble, and hands you something infinitely better, mini retirements. He's not talking about one tropical vacation after 30 years of inbox trauma. He's talking about dropping out of the noise now, not someday, regularly, strategically, because your life should look like the one you think retirement's supposed to deliver, not in 40 years. Now you've been told to defer living. Work like a mule, grind until 65, then maybe sip pina coladas in a beige condo in Florida if your back still works. But Ferriss flips that lie on its back. What if you took a 6-month break every 2 years? What if you relocated to Thailand or Brazil and lived like royalty for a fraction of your rent in LA? What if your life was punctuated by reinvention, not resignation? Mini retirements aren't escape hatches, they're recalibrations, test drives for the kind of life most people are too scared to even admit they want. Ferriss throws the whole model of work now, play later into the fire and asks, why not live in cycles of contribution and recharge? Why do you need to wait until you're half dead to travel, learn, create? And let's talk about the dirty little secret most people don't admit when they do hit the retirement age. They don't know what the hell to do with themselves. You'd think freedom would feel like bliss. But if all you've done for 40 years is work, your identity becomes your job title. Strip it away, and there's nothing left but void and Viagra. That's why Ferriss drills into filling the void, because freedom without purpose is just a slow drift into irrelevance. If you subtract structure from your life without adding vision, you don't get peace. You get existential dread with beach Wi-Fi. So what do? You fill it with challenge, creation, service, learning. Not because it's productive, but because it's human. Ferriss doesn't glamorize lounging around. He highlights how many people, once free, get bored out of their skulls or slip into passive consumption. You weren't built for passive anything. You were built to create, build, experience, and choose. Freedom isn't the absence of responsibility. It's the chance to design responsibility around what matters. He tells stories of new rich travelers who take dance lessons, launch non-profits, learn new languages, even apprentice under craftsmen in foreign countries. Not because they have to, because they can. They're not killing time, they're using it like it matters. Here's where the commentary hits you in the throat. Most of you can't even enjoy a weekend without checking your email. You wouldn't know what to do with 6 months of freedom if it slapped you with a plane ticket and an itinerary, because you've never learned to sit with yourself. You've never practiced curiosity. You've only practiced compliance. So what's the move? Plan your first mini retirement like it's a launch, not a break. Budget it, design it, schedule learning into it. Do something bold, not safe. Safe is a cage with soft pillows. Bold is building a life that keeps challenging you because you said so. And when you come back from that sabbatical, guess what? You're not weaker for it. You're not behind. You're sharper, hungrier, more alive. Because living well doesn't kill ambition, it sharpens it. The goal was never to escape forever. It was to live so well, so often, that you don't need an escape at all. Key takeaway: see the world now. Don't wait till you're old. Live in deliberate cycles of work and reinvention. Freedom is not delay, it's design. Favorite quote: life doesn't have to be so damn serious. It really doesn't. Don't trip over your exit. Let's talk about exits, not the kind where you throw your 2-week notice on your boss's desk like it's a resignation mixtape. I mean the real exit. The kind that reclaims your time, rewrites your future, and tells the world, I'm not playing by your rules anymore. But before you do your dramatic walkout, Tim Ferriss wants to make sure you don't trip over your own ego, habits, or half-baked plans on the way out the door. Because freedom isn't a prize, it's a practice. And if you don't know how to handle it, you're gonna screw it up like every other lottery winner who ends up broke and sad with a gold-plated hot tub. See, the problem isn't escaping the grind. The problem is staying out once you've escaped. That's where people blow it. Ferriss watched countless new rich fall flat on their minimalist faces. Why? Because they built the perfect system, fired their bosses, automated their income, and then went straight back into the hamster wheel. Not because they needed the money, because they couldn't stand the silence. They didn't prepare for freedom to feel real. You can give someone a private island, but if they've been trained to ask permission before they pee, they'll find a way to ruin it. So Ferriss lays out the common mistakes people make after they've made it. They scale too fast. They create unnecessary complexity. They start new businesses for the wrong reasons. They check their email 47 times a day out of habit. They start saying yes again to things they once swore off. In other words, they return to prison with new wallpaper and call it progress. He doesn't just slap your wrist. He breaks down how to identify the slippery slope. Like this: if your new freedom lifestyle still requires you to check in daily, answer urgent emails, attend meetings, or keep your phone glued to your hip, guess what? You haven't escaped. You've just changed locations. You're still tethered, still trapped, still working for a life that owns you. That's why he ends with what might be the most important message in the book: how to walk away well. That last email you send, that final transition from your past self to the new rich version of you, it's not just logistics, it's symbolic. It's a declaration of war on mediocrity. And Ferriss makes it crystal clear: don't go out meekly. Don't ask for understanding. Don't beg for approval. You're not requesting a sabbatical. You're closing a chapter like a professional. That final goodbye email, it isn't a resignation letter. It's a graduation announcement. But here's the twist that nobody tells you. Freedom doesn't feel the way you think it will. It's quieter, scarier. At first it feels like being underwater without sound. You keep waiting for something to pull you back, a meeting, a deadline, an alert. And when nothing does, you might panic. You might even try to create problems just to feel busy again. That's why the real work of the new rich begins after you exit. You have to learn how to live with space, with choice, with the terrifying privilege of designing your day with intention. That's a lot harder than being told what to do, when to do it, and where to sit while doing it. But if you get it right, you stop reacting to life, and you start building it. That's the goal, not quitting a job. Not making passive income, not sipping drinks on the beach, but waking up every day knowing you are exactly where you chose to be. So don't trip over your exit. Make it matter, make it final, make it loud if you want, but make it true. And if you ever feel yourself drifting back into old habits, remember this: every yes to the wrong thing is a no to the life you said you wanted. Key takeaway: freedom isn't a one-time escape, it's a disciplined lifestyle. Exiting well means protecting your time, defending your systems, and refusing to go back to the life that broke you. Favorite quote: do not overestimate the competition and underestimate yourself. You are better than you think. Conclusion. Let's finish this the only way that makes sense, by lighting the bridge behind us and daring you to walk forward. You just sprint read the battle plan for blowing up the default life. Ferriss gave you the parts. Redefine success on your own terms, murder the 80% of tasks that keep you busy, build a cash machine that doesn't need you, vaporize location constraints, punctuate life with mini retirements instead of deferred dreams, and stay sharp by refusing the comfort creep that drags the new rich back into the swamp. The math isn't complicated: time, mobility, automated income, but pulling the trigger takes nerve. Because once you know the rules are fake, every excuse you cling to is self-betrayal. So here's the deal. If you turn off this video and settle back into the blue light coma of mindless scrolling, all we've done is sharpen the bars of your cage. Don't do that. Pick one thing from what you heard. Batch your inbox, price test a product, ask for the remote trial, book the ticket, and execute before the day ends. Momentum beats motivation every single time. And buy the book. Seriously, a $10 paperback that can hack decades of wasted life is the single best ROI on the planet. Dog-ear it, bleed highlighter on it, throw it at friends who complain about Mondays. Digital? Fine. Audiobook? Great. Tattoo the deal letters on your knuckles if that's what it takes. Just make sure the author gets his royalty so publishers keep printing weapons like this. Now. Channel business. Slam the like button so hard it files a workers' comp claim. Subscribe and jam that bell icon until it begs for mercy. You'll want to know the moment we drop the next blueprint. Share this with the coworker who thinks grind is a personality trait, the relative who keeps promising they'll live after retirement, and every LinkedIn influencer preaching hustle culture like a new gospel. Let's mess up their algorithm-polished reality. Drop a comment below. Which chain are you snapping first, and by what date? Public commitment is free accountability. Don't waste it. And if you're feeling bold, post your worst case scenario in the comments, because once it's written down, you'll see how tiny that monster really is. Remember, freedom isn't handed out, it's taken, daily, loudly, unapologetically. The clock is still ticking. The question is whether it's a countdown to more of the same or the start signal for everything you actually want. Choose, move, disappear, repeat. Catch you on the other side.